Welcome back. This is Dr. Dave Cron from Dairy Sense. Today we're going to talk about the causes of oxidative stress. In my first video, I made the statement 95% of all diseases and production issues are nutrition related. As you can see, that is crossed out and it's really oxidative stress. So if we really believe this is going to be a really important video. First, a little review from my second video. What is oxidative stress? So cells undergo aerobic metabolism in the gut. So when this happens, we get oxygen radical formation. These are toxins. These toxins are detoxified by three enzymes in our body to water and oxygen. When this system is overwhelmed, we get a condition called oxidative stress. Oxidative stress leads to leaky gut, and leaky gut is actually what causes all the common diseases and production issues in dairy cattle. So first, before we begin, let's go through some concepts of some ruminant nutrition. Majority of the nutrients from maintenance and milk production are produced by rumen fermentation. So when the rumen fermentation involves bacteria, protozoa, and enzymes, and they break down the forages in the ration, and the bacteria multiply and grow, and then they die, and the cow digests the bacteria, and that's what produces the protein. What also forms during this rumen fermentation are volatile fatty acids. As we know, the three volatile fatty acids are acetate, butyrate, and propionate. So these fatty acids produce the energy needed for the cow. So the protein and the energy produces the milk and milk components. When we get excess volatile fatty acid production in the rumen, this leads to rumen pH drops. This rumen pH drop causes bacterial death, which decreases the volatile fatty acid formation, and also causes a condition called oxidative stress. So let's first look at the oxidative stress in the gut. How that is produced is rumen pH drops below 5.8. When it drops below 5.8, we get a condition called SARA. I'm sure you all have heard that, subacute rumen acidosis. When the pH drops to 5.2 or less, we get rumen acidosis or lactic acidosis, which is really bad. And so when the rumen pH drops, we get excessive oxidation, and that forms the oxidative stress in the gut. Let's look at a number of conditions in the gut that causes this oxidative stress. First one is overcrowding, probably the number one issue on most farms. The recommended levels of overcrowding in the 3-row pen is 5%. The recommended levels for a 2-row pen is 10% maximum. In most farms, we have in 3-row pens, there's a lot of them have 10 to 30% overcrowding, and in the 2-row pens, we have 20 to 40% overcrowding. So here's a pen that's a 3-row pen that is only 10% overcrowded, but as you can see, all the headlocks are full with cows eating, and there's a bunch of cows waiting to get into the headlocks to eat. Here's another pen that's 30% overcrowded, and as you can see here, all the stalls are filled, cows are laying down, no one is eating, the rest of the cows are all standing and standing around. Here's the back end of that stall, and you can see all the stalls are filled and cows standing around. What does overstocking do to cows? Feeding times are shortened due to increased competition, and cows eat fewer, larger meals with longer periods of standing and waiting between meals. And what happens with this all, you get a condition called slug feeding. Slug feeding is another condition that lowers rumen pH. So slug feeding in one study found that overstocked cows ate 25% faster and ruminated 1 hour less. 1 hour of decreased rumination equals to the 2 to 3 pounds of dry matter intake reduction. A cow is more likely to slug feed when feed does become available without feed too long. Another thing that causes decrease in rumen pH is sorting. So fiber from the ration is what causes rumination. Rumination causes saliva formation, and that causes the bicarbonate to form, which neutralizes the acid. The rule of thumb is to have 2 inches of fiber in your ration or less. So here's a picture of a ration a cow eating, where you can see there's many of the fiber is 2 inches or more, and they are sorting. So the cows before this one ate all the little goodies in there, and all that's left is the long fiber. Here's a pre-fresh ration that has a lot of straw in, and as you can see, all the straw particles are 2 inches or less, and it's impossible to sort this ration, which is excellent. Here's a pile of that straw after it's been chopped up by a bale chopper, and you can see it's all 2 inches or less. I believe any hay or straw that's going into any ration needs to be chopped up by a bale chopper in order to get it down to that size. Another important thing in order to decrease sorting is to make sure your kicker plates are new and not old. Kicker plates, they push the feed up from the wall into the screws. When they become old and rounded, the feed sticks against the wall and doesn't kick the feed up into the screws. Another thing that causes a decrease in rumen pH is empty bunk syndrome. So here's a picture of a bunk a cow's eating, and on the upper part it's kind of hard to see, but there's a lot of feed up there. On the lower end there was very little feed. Cows like to eat in zones, so the cows that are eating in the lower end here might not go up to the other end where there's feed. What we need to do push-ups and distribution of the feed many times during the day and night. Because cows cannot eat feed that they cannot reach. Here's another picture of another feed bunk, and as you can see, the feed is not pushed up and the feed is not redistributed throughout the whole bunk so they can eat it. Some people are going to robotic feed pushers, which can be programmed to push the feed up every hour or two. These work really good, but they do not redistribute the feed when parts of the bunk become empty. So the feeder needs to make sure he puts extra feed in those areas where they are eating more. Here's your typical bunk where the feed is pushed up by a skid steer and a scraper. They've done an excellent job of pushing the feed up and redistributing the feed throughout the bunk. So another thing that causes decrease in rumen pH is low effective fiber. We need enough fiber in the ration for cud chewing to produce saliva again, which is a base and neutralizes the acid. So in order to determine if we have enough effective fiber in the ration, we need to do the 4-screen Penn State shaker box, and we weigh the part of the feed that's on the top 3 screens, and that'll give us our physical effective NDF in the ration. So here's a picture of a ration that kind of looks like we don't have enough fiber. It looks kind of fine, but I know this ration, and when we did this the shaker, it is got enough physical effective fiber in the ration. Another thing can cause decrease in rumen pH is high moisture corn. High moisture corn is rapidly degradable starch. It lowers the rumen pH very rapidly. Today, when we have our rations containing 7% corn silage, which is full of high moisture corn, the corn silage, we don't want to add high moisture corn on top of all the high moisture corn that's in the corn silage. Some people feed low moisture, high moisture corn, which is moisture in the upper teens, the lower 20s. I think this is fine, but the trouble with that is to make sure you get it ground fine enough so they are around 500 microns in size, and that can be difficult on some of these places. Here's a picture of a high moisture corn bunk. They did an excellent job. I'm sure this moisture is in the middle to upper 20s, And so again, these people say, but doc, we can save all this money from drying costs and by putting in as high moisture corn. But I'm going to promise you that the cost will be minor to what it's going to cause on production and health issues on your cows.